Okay, well, I want to welcome everybody to the winter version of our career event for English majors and creative writing majors. We've got a good panel tonight. I'm sure there'll be more people popping in, but I did already open the chat, and there is one thing in there already. It's the folder that contains our alum resumes for the evening. So at some point, you'll want to take a look at that and uh, reach out and ask questions to our panelists tonight to get some advice on how to organize resumes and maybe look at things that you can add to your own resume as far as skills and experiences and certifications and things like that. So we'll circle back to the alum contributions in a little bit. So the first thing I wanted to do tonight was to talk a little bit about our department resources. And let's see. I don't want that. Okay, I'm trying to share the department. Can you see that, or do you see?
I see the department website.
Okay. All right. Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the English department website, and you'll scroll down and click on internships and career resources. And you'll see we've got a bunch of different tabs for you to access here with different sets of information. So one of the things that you might want to take a look at is the list of available internships. We divide this by majors as far as coordinators. So my name is Rachel Smidra, and I coordinate the internships for English majors. And Annie Gilson, who's on sabbatical this semester, handles the creative writing internships. So if you're interested in doing something for the summer and you're a creative writing major, still just feel free to reach out to me until Annie's back on campus. We have quite a few partners that we have listed here. These are all organizations or companies. Some are nonprofit. Obviously, some are for-profit that we've had students intern and have good experiences, which is why we have them listed here. We also keep these up to date in that we have current contacts and we know that they have available positions. They're organized by tabs, and you'll be able to take a look at opportunities at Oakland. You'll be able to take a look at nonprofit organizations, and most of these are local. We also have opportunities if you're interested in going into publishing. A couple of these are online. So the dance books I know is an online opportunity. So if that's something you're interested in doing a virtual experience, a virtual internship, you'll want to contact me and ask, are there any? And I can let you know what's available. And then we also have some corporations and businesses and so forth that you can consider as well. One of the other things that you have to decide when you're thinking about doing an internship, because you're going to hear a lot of people talk about this tonight, is when to do this thing and whether or not to do it for credit. So you have a couple different options. If you decide to do it for credit, you register for English 4950 and you do it as a class and you get 4 credits for it. And it's a much more structured experience in that you have to work at least 8 hours a week. 8 to 10 hours is what we require for the course, the 4 credit course. And that means that you will have weekly check-ins and you'll write a paper, and it's really coordinating the experience between OU and the organization. So it's a lot more support and a lot more interaction with an OU coordinator and the on-site mentor. You don't have to do that though. I mean, you can find your own internship and do it. You don't have to do it for credit, and you can use our partners that we have listed on our list of available internships. It just takes you kind of reaching out, and it really puts the onus more on you as far as finding the internship and organizing it, and discussing how much you want to work and how long you want it to last. But there's definitely some flexibility with setting up your own internship and finding it. I mean, there's just a ton of different resources out there. But you're going to hear tonight how people have found that they've gained experience through their internships. And one of the things they maybe find out is that they're not really interested in that career path. But it does allow you access to cultural, organizational culture, and different types of roles and responsibilities. And that's just not something you can get without doing this type of experience. One of the other things that you can do is you can take a look at past navigating your next step videos. We record all of these, and we usually keep the last three on this tab. And so that might be something you want to do tonight, because you're going to find out how valuable these insights are from our alums. And it might not be a bad idea to go back and take a look at the last year or two of these informative sessions. It might help you with networking or something like that. So there's a lot of good resources on our department page. People forget to look here. We do keep this updated. So if you have any questions about the different types of internship options you have, you can reach out. Okay. All right, well, one of our guest panelists tonight is going to talk a little bit about a new internship opportunity at OU, and it's Christina Moore, and she is at CETL, which is the Center for Teaching and Learning here at OU. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and she's going to tell us a little bit about this new opportunity for our majors.
Yes, hi everyone. So I'm actually an alum of the English department as well. I earned my bachelor's in '07 and master's in '09. So I have good things to say about this program. So most of my career has been in teaching and in higher education in general here at OU. And so I work at the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at OU. So our primary audience is faculty, but we focus on professional development resources, anything to improve and create a great teaching and learning environment. So in service of that, we have plenty of writing opportunities. So the sheet that Professor Smidra showed before has all of our information. But if I were to summarize what some of those opportunities are, they would be on the marketing writing side of things. We work really hard to get the word out about a lot of resources we have, great programs going on, events. And that takes a very well organized and intentional way of crafting a message to meet the right people, and then figuring out how that sounds different in a newsletter versus a news brief versus social media posts. So we have an opportunity there where you could sort of craft out a plan for that and execute it. We do have things on the multimodal side of things as well. So if you want to dabble in creating videos, we have a pretty large following on YouTube. So the things you may create can reach a wider audience. And there are multiple opportunities that tap into your experiences as students at OU. We have, and I can also share the link to the document I'm referring to since we're all here. So we try to gather student perspectives about what's going on in their classrooms, what helps them, what could be improved. And we communicate those stories through blog posts, through video interviews, and we're also exploring other ways to gather those perspectives. So that's why you'll see that one of the opportunities that we've defined is being a storyteller of sorts. So this might be telling your stories, telling stories of different types of students at OU. These are really important for faculty to be able to find and hear so that it helps inform the decisions they make in the classroom. So this is a great opportunity for people who are interested in writing and crafting writing for a specific audience, but also taking like seeing the behind the scenes of how an organization plans things out, schedules things, recruits people, and also paying attention to things like web accessibility in the texts that you create. So that's some of these opportunities can work well if you really want to focus on the written word, or it can be about translating the written word into different modes of communication and text. So that's overall how I would describe the opportunities. You'll see some direction as far as the parameters of these opportunities, but we're very flexible. I see all of these as concrete ideas and guides on where a strong writer could contribute to our center. This could be in as little as a few hours a week to a larger opportunity if you wanted to. It could spread out over multiple semesters or just be for one semester. And we are a teaching and learning center, so we want to also value this as a learning experience for you. So we'll regularly check in, gather your inputs, see how this is as a learning experience for you. So we want to try and give you a lot of agency, but also a lot of direction so that you don't feel like you have to figure everything out on your own. And we can craft some of these projects to be pretty narrow and simple and short term, or we can try something a little more creative and bigger picture. So that's how I would sum it up on my end. Anything else I should share, Professor Smidger?
Well, if you could put your email address, your contact information in the chat. The nice thing about this opportunity, it's on campus, and as Christina already said, a lot of flexibility. Just some great experience, hands-on experience, doing a variety of tasks. Engaging with many different people from different departments and many different types of events that you can be involved with. It's just a great opportunity. So I hope you get a chance to take a look at the internship description and reach out if you're interested. Does anybody have any questions for Christina? Because I know she's going to jump off. All right, thanks a lot. Okay, our next panelist is from the Career and Life Design Center, and it's Yeji Lee, and she's going to talk a little bit about the resources on campus over in North Foundation Hall. All right, take it away.
Thank you. Hi, again, my name is Yeji Lee, and I'm a Career and Life Design coach at the Career and Life Design Center. So yes, it is located in North Foundation Hall, right next to the First Year Advising Center. So if you're ever in the Oakland Center, or if you're nearby our office, feel free to stop by, because for like resume, cover letters, free headshots, help with like Handshake or LinkedIn, you don't really have to make an appointment. Our office is pretty much open during all business hours. So if you just wanted to walk in and ask some questions, we're always there to help you out. So I hope you can take advantage of those services. For meeting, with a career and life design coach like myself, you want to go on Handshake and make those appointments. So what we can offer, in addition to all those services that I just mentioned, is really doing the mock interview. So I can't emphasize this enough, how important it is to be practicing interview just ahead of time. Those interview skills are the hardest to really develop and really master those skills. And if you think about it, your resume, it can look really good on paper, but once they bring you in for that interview, that is really when you want to make the best impression. You want to be the best version of yourself. So all those, you could spend, a year just like preparing for an interview, like coming in like every month, just like talking about like all these different experiences that you have at OU or outside of OU, inside your classrooms. Like it takes a lot of practice to learn how to talk about yourself. And it's one of those things that I just love to do because I really get to see how students communicate verbally. And I get to give feedback on like, that was a good answer, but here is a better way to answer some of these questions because you might think that you're doing a really great job or you think that you'll do a great job, but once you're there and once you're like posed with these questions that you never really thought about, it kind of trips you up if you're not prepared and you haven't practiced yet. So I really hope that, for those of you who are looking for jobs or just never really had that interview practice to come in for those appointments. We also do preparation for like career fairs. We also do career exploration. No matter which class standing you're in right now, you want to sort of explore like what that career path might look like going forward. So that would mean like us taking a look at like, taking an inventory of your self-interest. Like what are you really interested in or passionate about? What do you care about? And how does that work out, in the real world or in a occupationally. So we'll, do assessments. Through these discussions, you'll just learn a lot more about yourself and get to reflect on what did I enjoy in the past and what do I want to do more of. So, you might have chosen English or creative writing as your major, but not sure like how to apply some of these skills and knowledge into the world of work. Career exploration would be a good appointment for you to grab. Um, and then also, if you are hoping to get connected to employers, um, just even outside of like, applying for jobs, we can get you connected to different professionals that, align with your interests. So we can connect you to get an informational interview or just like a warm intro. And I can also help you find people on LinkedIn that you can also feel like you know how to find those people and network with them. So lots of different ways to really go about like learning, different career paths and, what you might want to do as a next step because like, Rachel and Christina were saying, like it takes time for you to really learn what fits you. So all these experiences, the baby steps that you take through on-campus jobs, internships, student org involvement, classroom projects, all of those things you want to take into account. And, once in a while, just take inventory of those things and say, this worked out for me and this did not. What do I want that next step to look like? So I really, I love exploring different careers. Like that is just what I'm really passionate about. And although I wasn't a major in English, um, I majored in communication, which I feel like is sort of in the same field of like it's flexible and open enough that you can really create your own career out of it. So, what I did was like I knew that I liked helping people. That was just like my natural ability. I love listening to people. So I try to get into, sort of like the HR career, and did some recruiting out there and then realized like that wasn't truly me. So I, dabbled in the automotive industry, like working in the sales department, like working with different engineers and all of that. And that also gave me a good learning lesson of like, what did I really enjoy? And I again realized like the best part about that was like working with lots of different people, listening to their problems, and just being a helper overall. So then again, I took another step back, really to looking at my past experiences and said, okay, now I really need to do something where I can actually be uh, a legitimate helper. So I went into a counseling program, and that was it. Like I felt like this is what I've been meant to do, and I love helping out people and providing that kind of mental health support, but also guidance on careers. So, lots of different paths and ways that you can really find your career. And that's what all the career and life design coaches here at our office love to do. So I hope that you, take advantage of our resources, whether you're a current student or an alum. We're always, welcoming everybody at any point. And I will put my information in the chat so that you can reach out to me if you have any questions. But yeah, that's about it for me. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you, Yeji. I hope you get a chance to get over there as well. And they have a ton of people kind of flock in their senior year, but if you can take advantage of their services much earlier than that last semester, it will pay off. I think that you realize that you don't have to have it all figured out. You're just really looking for that, advice on how to take that next step and which direction to head. And I hope that we kind of reaffirm tonight that you don't have to have your whole life planned out. It's just you want to know your options, things that maybe you should be doing now that will set you up well after you graduate. And so that's really the emphasis tonight, is to just recognize and be able to find all these different types of resources on campus and understand that you already have a network. You really just have to reach out and start using it. Okay, thanks, JG. I appreciate it. Okay, next we're going to hear from Lexi Mulhern. She works at City Year. I'm not sure of your position, Lexi, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, good deal. I appreciate it. And thanks for letting me be here. So I'm a recruiter. I'm a recruiter for City Year. I'm based in Milwaukee, and I'm actually filling in for my coworker, Robert, today. So at the end of when I kind of like finish giving the information, I'll drop his information and then I'll drop mine as well if anyone has any Milwaukee specific questions. But yeah, I'm a recruiter for City Year now, but I also am an alum of City Year myself. I did my year of service in Milwaukee. And I always tell people like, I'm a recruiter for a reason, and it's because my year of service was genuinely one of the best years of my life. I feel like I am the leader and the community member that I am today because of my year of service. So it's very easy for me to recommend it. It's something that I want for everybody. But so yeah, City Year, we are a gap year job opportunity through AmeriCorps. So what I mean by gap year, usually people who work with us to be in our leadership cohorts, they do it as a gap year, either between undergrad and grad school, or if you don't want to go to grad school, I did not, you can just do it as like a gap year to like, give yourself more time to figure out what is next for you. Because yeah, like doubling down, you don't have to have everything figured out quite yet. Or maybe you want to spend it as like a year doing something unique and doing something in your community. I feel like I've seen a lot over the past few months of people talking about like the importance of being in community and organizing. And I think sometimes that's easy to say, but it's harder to know what that looks like in practice. And I think City Year is a really good example, like a very tangible example of like what that looks like in practice. And option C, maybe you just want to take it as a gap year to pay off some loans. Because yeah, like we pay you a biweekly stipend, which Robert can get you more information on. But at the end of the year as well, aside from that stipend, we give you an additional $7,500 that you can use to put towards paying off any existing student loans, or you can take that with you to start paying for grad school. You can also do city year for 2 gap years, just kind of depending on your personal timeline, which is what I did. Because then at the end of that second year, you get an additional $7,500. So if you do 2 years, you can get up to like $15,000 to knock off your loans, which is a pretty decent amount. It made a dent in my loans for sure. But so yeah, speaking to more of like that AmeriCorps aspect, I think more often people hear of Peace Corps instead of AmeriCorps, and they're super similar. Peace Corps is just like international service, whereas AmeriCorps, as the name kind of like insinuates, it's like the domestic version of Peace Corps. You know, like kind of starting in our own communities first sort of thing. So yeah, we at City Year, we specifically work in underfunded schools. So it's not a teaching position, but it's more of like a tutor, a mentor. And so for y'all as like English and creative writing majors, like y'all are definitely huge assets to our work. But at the end of the day, we take people from all majors because all of the different like knowledge and skills that people have, whether that's like mechanical engineering, computer science, data analytics, social work, you know, English, history, all of those different skill sets kind of like fill in the gaps that our underfunded schools are experiencing. So yeah, it's not teaching, like I said, mentor, tutor, sort of more so. Our end goal is to get students like up to grade level so that they can be at a point to like graduate high school. So yeah, like for some context, when I did this, I worked with 4th graders. I had 4th graders who just like were at kindergarten, pre-K reading levels, writing levels. This was also before the pandemic, so when they weren't in school for a few years, you can imagine how things are now. But yeah, like on top of that, like they're going through really real things like homelessness and like the foster care system. And then on top of that, they go to a school that doesn't get any funding for any resources. So what that sort of creates is like this cycle of now all of a sudden they're in 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and now they're at a risk of dropping out. And then statistically speaking, students who don't graduate high school are more likely to end up in the prison system. So it's like this big heavy work that we do. But you know, like the thing of it is that I try to explain to people like the work that we do with a 3rd grader now can potentially affect the trajectory of the rest of their lives. So heavy, but like necessary, I would argue. Yeah, what else? So yeah, like kind of speaking to more of like the mentoring side of thing, because yeah, of course we're tutoring them, but how we do that effectively is through like the mentorship sort of approach. Like mentorship sort of collectivist community approach. So, you know, like you would be in the schools Monday through Thursday with your team, with your students. And then on Friday, that's like an office day where everybody from your team comes back together, or from your cohort comes back together, and just like continues the conversation around like the work that we're doing. And maybe we also bring in people from the community who don't necessarily work in education, but whose work they like, who, what am I trying to say? That the work that they do might impact the work that we do in our schools. So again, an example of that. Maybe we bring in somebody who works in gun violence, because as unfortunate as it is, every year we have students who lose friends or family members to gun violence during the year. And of course that affects like how they show up and what have you. And so when we have these people come in and speak with us, not only can we network with them that way for ourselves, but that way we also know which resources exist and where to go to get them in the event that our students and their families need those resources. And I would even take that then further, being that y'all are like English and creative writing majors, because then maybe like during these things, you now have more resources to be able to like work with your students, and maybe they can write like a little journal entry or a short story kind of like about their experiences as like a way to express that, you know, more so. Because that might not necessarily fit into the average like school day, but in the work that we do, it's sort of like a different capacity. And so maybe they could do that with y'all. What else? The benefits really quick. So of course you get the stipend, you get the $7,500 SEAL Education Award. Depending which city you go to, you get like a free bus and a subway pass, you get free health insurance, you can get like a grocery stipend, you can get like a relocation bonus. I'm sure there's others. Those are like the main ones. And then on top of that, like you get access to a lot of like grad school opportunities. So speaking to Milwaukee specifically, just because that's what I know the best, Marquette University here in Milwaukee, they have a grad school program called the Trinity Fellowship. One of the requirements to even qualifying in order to apply for this is that you do a year of service with AmeriCorps, aka City Year. And if you get accepted, it's basically free grad school, and they do have an English track. They have some communication tracks, but they also have like 14 tracks in general. So maybe you wanted to like major in English and creative writing as your undergrad, but you wanted to go a different direction with grad school. That's very much an option. And then another one that's kind of unique to Milwaukee is the teaching fellowship. So for any of y'all who are maybe like interested in teaching, but you didn't necessarily major in it for undergrad, City or Milwaukee has this teaching fellowship in which like during your second year of service, you would apply to it and you get your master's degree and your teaching certifications to then go on to be a teacher. So those are just two of many grad school benefits. I know so many people that have gotten like free or heavily discounted grad school out of doing City Year. So definitely tap into that. And then the last thing that I'll say really quickly, I don't want to take up too much time, just for anybody on here who is interested, maybe you're an underclassman, I would definitely just like double down on like getting in touch with Robert, throw his email in. For anybody who is a senior and might want to apply to work with us starting over the summer, we are currently accepting applications from now through the end of May, again, to start in the summer. But I will say like the sooner that you apply, the better, just because the longer you wait, the more competitive it can get. And I also mentioned the aspect of like you would be part of a leadership cohort. In Milwaukee, that's like 85 people. In Detroit, I think that's about the same amount of people. So because it's such a large group of people that we're hiring each year, there's this unique position where like you can apply with a friend. Like if you have a friend who's in a similar boat as you, might want to take a gap year, might not quite know what's next for them, like you can apply to be in the same leadership cohort. And two, if like you're moving to a different city, maybe that's Milwaukee, maybe it's not. It just makes the process more fun if you're moving with a friend. So I will drop my information for anyone who's interested in Milwaukee specifically or the Trinity Fellowship. And then I will also drop Robert's email in the chat just for just other general questions. But yeah, do City or do a gap year, you know what I mean?
All right, thanks, Lexi. What a great overview. And it just, I like that it's a low stakes experience. And if you're maybe interested in teaching or working in education in some way, some capacity, this is a great way to explore that and decide whether or not it's for you. And it sounds like it's a gateway also to, opportunities beyond that, because the program is so well connected, and I'm pretty sure it's I don't know if you get to pick your city, but I'm sure there's just a lot of information and so forth on the website, and I'm sure Lexi and Robert can answer any questions if you reach out and connect with them as well. All right, thanks very much. Appreciate it. All right, before we move on to our alums, I just want to see if you have any questions for Lexi and Yeji before we kind of pivot a little bit and hear from 4 OU alums who are going to tell us a little bit about their experiences after graduation. Okay, well, let's, and you can always put questions in the chat or just jump in. We're happy to take any questions that you have to ask. So we're going to hear from Natalie Nolan first tonight. She is an OU alum, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she did after graduation and what she maybe thought, maybe what she wishes she knew then and what she knows now. She's going to tell us a little bit about networking and just offer you some really good suggestions on taking that next step.
Thanks. Hi, y'all. I'm Natalie. I graduated from Oakland in 2017. So it feels recent, but when I say the year, I'm like, that was not that recent. But I graduated in 2017 with a major in English, of course, minors in Spanish and creative writing. And right now I'm a technical editor for an environmental consulting group. Editing, copy editing, proofreading has been the most of my career journey. So that's what I'll share with you all today. English majors, it's I know someone else on here was saying they had a comms major, and that's pretty similar too, but those are both great majors if you want to be an editor. I love being right and correcting people, so editing is a lot of fun. And like I said, right now I'm working as a technical editor. I've worked for an environmental consulting group. I've worked in literary publishing, I've worked in educational publishing, and in educational assessment editing. So there's quite a few different things in the realm of editing, and there's a lot more that I haven't done too. So most companies need an editor, so it's a pretty versatile skill to have. I want to talk about two experiences I had at Oakland that really um, shaped me, and they're so important to my time at OU and my career today. And the first of those is I worked at the Oakland University Writing Center in Kresge. I hope some of y'all have been there. It's a great resource. Whether it's for class or if you guys are getting close to graduating and you need help with your resume, you need help with a cover letter. And guess what? Even after you graduate, you can still go there. It's still free forever as long as you graduated from Oakland or are a student. So it's a super great resource, and I loved my time working there. I still have friends from my time there, and it really helped me in my career just in having that experience, and also in the importance of connections to finding your next role, right? And the other one thing I want to talk about is the internship program that's already been mentioned. And I did have a really important to me, not like, important in that sense, but it was important to my career personally with Dzonk Books as an editorial intern. And that was a remote internship. I think it's one that you mentioned already. And that was so great because, so I did it as part of the internship program, meaning I did it as one of my classes, which I would really recommend if you're going to be spending that amount of time on it, instead of doing it additional to your course load, because I don't know if it's changed, but it was not paid when I was there. It's not a paid internship. But I learned so much. Michelle Daughter is now the editor-in-chief at Dzonk, but she was in charge of the intern program then, and just a wealth of information. And as soon as I graduated from Oakland, she gave me my very first paid job copy editing for Dzonk. So that was awesome. I graduated in December, an off time to graduate. It was a semester early. And I don't regret it, but I'm not sure I would do it that way today. I didn't graduate with the rest of my friends. I felt like I was kind of alone figuring out my career. So having that connection of that internship was super valuable, because while I was looking for more full-time work, that's what I was doing was just those small copy editing projects on a freelance basis. So from there, let's see. And I haven't done work for Dzonk in a while, but they connected me with so many other people I still do freelance work for, and I still do that from time to time. But my next full-time role after that was a bilingual Spanish-English copy editor and proofreader for ETS, an educational assessment company. They would do like they didn't do the MEP. Michigan, do y'all still do the MEP in Michigan? They didn't make those tests, but they made similar tests for other states. So I was editing those assessments. Then a fun time during the pandemic, I substitute taught, which is a little different, but from my career. But hey, English degree, you're pretty versatile, right? After that, I started working for Macmillan, editing educational textbooks. So that was in the STEM area, and then that kind of directed me to my current role, which is in environmental consulting, so the overlap with STEM and all of that, as well as I live here in Austin, Texas, and in my community, I volunteer at the Austin Bat Refuge, which was great to saying, hey, look at this experience I have for an environmental consulting group where, I'm an English major. I didn't study biology, but a lot of the stuff that I'm editing is related to that. So, take advantage of those internship programs, and then just, of course, making connections and the importance of all of that networking, which is not super fun as someone speaking from experience who's more introverted, but it is really helpful. My role at Macmillan and ETS was just cold applying resumes, no connections. But at EOCene, the environmental consulting group I work for, even my internship, getting the internship with Desank, those were ones that I had personal connections for that really helped me get into those roles. And so talk to your professors. They know stuff about internships. They can shoot a letter of recommendation. All of that good stuff. Peter Marcus, one of my creative writing professors, is who got me connected at Desank, and that's been so important in my career today. So that's something I would recommend, the networking, of course, and the internship program. And just keeping your options open, not especially right now, not pigeonholing yourself for just one thing. That if you think you maybe want to do one type of work, be open to looking at others and across all interests. I never thought I would be editing for an environmental consulting group. I thought I would always be editing books. So this is different, but I really love it.
Okay, I don't know if you can expand on this. Ashley kind of answered it as well, but Elizabeth was interested in that editing internship at Desank. So I'm not sure if you can talk just a minute about the application process for that.
Yeah, so I believe if it's the same as it was before, I don't remember the details of what sort of documents you need to submit, but they do take maybe, I want to say 15 per semester and in the summer, and that's for, like 15 for editorial, and they might also have had like a marketing one. So like 15 of each would be 30 or so people each semester. You definitely want to apply in advance. Like their summer internship application is probably open now, and then in the summer you'd apply for like a fall internship with them. It is a little competitive. I definitely think that knowing someone who's had that internship before is a good connection. Peter Marcus in the creative writing department has had a lot of his books are published with Zonk. So I was in one of his students and said, "Hey, I'm thinking of applying for this internship. Do you know anyone there?" And he said, "Oh, let me write you a recommendation." And when I actually inquired about applying, they said, "Hey, our applications are closed already." So I sent him an email and said, "Hey, they're already closed, so don't worry about that recommendation. I'll get it next time." And he said, "Wait," just an email. That's all he said in the email. And then another one, "Let me talk to someone." And then suddenly I got the internship. So that was awesome. And I would recommend not procrastinating like I did and applying before the deadline.
Oh, we lost you there. Okay, I'm not sure what happened, but there are deadlines for that. So you do want to make sure you go on that website. I put the link in the chat, and you'll want to make sure that you glance at that, because I do think that they run those internships. I think Natalie just said that year round, and maybe Ashley can speak to that as well. But it is a great opportunity. We've had several people from OU internship at Desank, and they get glowing reviews about just the support and the experience and just the tangibles and intangibles that you walk away with. All right, thanks, Natalie. Appreciate it. All right, next we're going to hear from Leah Herwire. She's got a little bit of a different story. She's still on campus, so let's hear from her.
Hi, everyone. So I am double alum with the English department. I have both my bachelor's and my master's, graduated in 2019 and 2021. Like Natalie, that feels like yesterday, but those years are adding up. So my senior year, I did participate in the internship program. My internship was on campus in our athletics department, specifically working with their development associate. If you guys don't know what development is, that's the fundraising that we do on campus to get money for scholarships and programs that wouldn't necessarily be funded through tuition, but rather the generous philanthropic donations from people who just want to see students in OU succeed. So from there, I had that internship my senior year. I moved on to the master's, which in full transparency, and if you're thinking about this right now at undergrad, I was there with you. I decided to do the master's to not decide what I wanted to be when I grew up yet, because that was a scary decision and I wanted to put it off. That was a blessing. I loved my experience in the graduate program, but at that point, I really wanted to get into the book industry, specifically the book like sales and marketing. So I had started working at Barnes & Noble, working with some of the higher ups. I was lucky that the area manager, who's technically part of corporate, was working out of one of the stores that I worked at. So I was trying to then move on to that corporate track. However, retail can get you down, and I realized that it wasn't necessarily the industry that I wanted to be in. I really missed being on campus and working with students in some capacity, and I fell into a job at Macomb Community College in their student life and leadership, where I worked with student leaders there in student organizations, and I gave leadership seminars, worked with volunteers and their food pantry. And then the position that I'm currently in right now at Oakland opened up. It's the stewardship coordinator. It was something that I had had my eye on for a while. If you don't know what stewardship is, which most people do not, it's the thank you after the gift. So I get to be the warm fuzzies and not ask people for money, which is immediately what people think when I say I work in development and fundraising is, oh, you have to ask people for money. No, I get to say thank you and share gratitude and impact. So this job, my English degree is really helping with. It involves a lot of writing, both short messages of gratitude and some longer impact pieces, a lot of critical thinking and media literacy. I also get a lot of face time in front of our vice president. I work with the university president, and I'm just a coordinator at the moment. So it's a lot of front facing to higher ups within the university. I've worked with every single dean on campus and quite a few members of the cabinet. I think the biggest takeaway I've gotten from my career so far is that just say yes to opportunities when they come, because each of them is going to help you decide what your next step should be. At Barnes & Noble, if I didn't say yes to something, I wouldn't have realized that that wasn't the path I should be taking and wasn't the right fit for me. I landed in this job kind of strangely. I said someone had invited me to go to a student philanthropy committee meeting, which was in my undergraduate, which is where I heard someone speak from athletics and made me interested in an internship. So I asked him about it and I got the internship. While I was there, I got to specifically work in donor suites that President Peskovitz was having guests at. So I was like making sure that they were happy and felt comfortable and knew what they were doing. And that experience allowed me to get this position that I'm in right now. And because I have so much FaceTime with our vice president, our assistant vice presidents, that they're taking a personal interest in helping my career go to the next level with getting projects that maybe get me out of my comfort zone. And maybe I will start asking people for money soon, which is not at all where I thought I would be when I was reading Sylvia Plath and Edith Wharton, you know? And I think something that I just got recently as I think about my next steps in my career, one of the leadership members here told me to stop projecting fear onto yourself. And I had to sit with that for a really long time. And then I would like to pass that on to you guys to just sit there and hold space for that. Overall, skills that I know I continuously work on and that I think everyone should work on. First and foremost is learning how to write a cover letter. Please use your resources with Career and Life Design and the Writing Center. I have had the privilege of sitting on a hiring committee, and I have colleagues here who've had me read over cover letters to help them. And you would not believe the people who cannot write a cover letter and it's kind of scary, but so know how much of an impact you can make by just writing an amazing cover letter. Though still please learn your interview skills. And then the other thing is if you see someone doing something that you're interested in, whether it's on LinkedIn, in just around you at where you're taking your internship or anywhere like that, just ask them for a conversation. Most people love to talk about themselves. So they will want to share their story. They will want to impart wisdom on you. And sometimes it is who you know that can help you out. And having those connections are super important, excuse me, to getting to the next step and understanding what you do or don't want to do. Okay, I know I'm a fast talker, so that's all of the notes I had.
Okay, thanks, Leah. And I know Yeji mentioned that as well, those informational interviews. It's just a great way to not necessarily get your foot in the door, but just to get some access to somebody who can provide you with guidance, maybe be a mentor for you now or in the future. It's just constantly trying to build that network, your resources that you never know how things are going to circle around in life, and you never know when that connection, you can call on that connection and it can really be pivotal. So just some great advice. Okay, let's hear from Ashley Gordon.
Hi, everyone. I'm sitting here listening to my fellow alumni, and I'm thinking, I was going to say that. So there's going to be some overlap. But what I think is really important about that is that when you're hearing overlap, it means that you aren't alone, that other people also have this experience. So I'm going to tell you about my career journey and then some recommendations that I have for you as students who are trying to figure out their next steps. And then at the end, I'll also share all of my information so that if you want to connect with me, you're more than welcome to. So the first thing I want to share is that my career journey was like a hot mess. And if you don't know what you're going to do when you're graduating, that's okay, because I didn't know what I was going to do. So like a quick history of Ashley is that my senior year, I studied abroad in France and decided I was going to add on a French major. So I graduated a year later than anticipated because I added this French major and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went back to France and I taught English through an assistant program called the Teaching Assistant Program in France. Came home, totally lost. Nobody wanted to hire me. I was overqualified for the jobs that I applied for, was underqualified for the jobs that I wanted. So I ended up being a substitute teacher, like you, Natalie. So that was, it's really good income. It's certainly a great way to decide whether or not you want to teach. If you think that you don't want to teach, but you feel like maybe you could and you really aren't sure, do some substitute teaching. That will really teach you whether or not you want to be in the classroom. Got to the end of that year, took the LSAT because my father really wanted me to be a lawyer, even though I didn't really want to. And at the same time, since I spent the money on that, I was like, I'm going to go ahead and apply to go back to France through that teaching assistant program again, because I at least know I liked that. And I got into that program and I did pretty well on the LSAT, but I was like, screw it, I don't want to be a lawyer. So I went back to France. And then as I was in France for that school year, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I guess I'll just go to grad school. Who needs to have a professional career? I don't know what I want. So similar to Leah, like I'm just going to defer all of that scary stuff. I'm just going to go and get this master's. I ended up getting my master's in French, so very different. And that master's was in Madison, Wisconsin. And in Madison, Wisconsin, there's a really large healthcare software company that many of you probably have interacted with, but don't even know it. If you have a MyChart, that company is called Epic. I had a lot of friends that worked there and made a lot of fun of them for being sellouts, but I ended up working at Epic too. So I was also a sellout. It's totally okay to become a sellout. The most important thing is that every single thing you do is teaching you something about yourself, what you like and what you don't like. As a quick side note, in that French program, I was required to do an internship. It was the first internship that I ever did. I did not do an internship when I was a student at Oakland, and I do regret it to this day. I saw that the Blue Care Network internship is still on the list of available internships. That's the one that I wished I had done, and I have never forgotten that I really wished I had done that. So what's funny is that when I was doing my French master's program, my internship was in the exact same thing as what I would have done for the Blue Care Network, and I didn't like it. So that internship taught me I actually really don't want to be in communications. I don't want to be in marketing. That's not my space. That's not, the area that makes me happiest. I actually thought from doing that internship that maybe I wanted to be a translator. And when it was all said and done, I fell into this technical writing job at Epic. I went in with absolutely no experience. It's a company that hires a lot of people straight out of college, and then they teach you everything that you need to know on the job. And it just turned out that I really liked technical writing. It just worked. I really like grammar. I know I'm in the minority here, but grammar is awesome. It's so fun. And if you are interested in just how the English language works, if you find that you are really liking the English classes, or maybe you've taken like I don't know if the poetry class is still being offered, but I took that when I was freshman and I loved it. Like the semantics, right? The use of words, that kind of stuff is really why I love being a technical writer, because my job is to take these really complex pieces of software development and explain them in plain English to people who don't necessarily have that kind of background where they're going to understand what a developer did. I don't have any developer experience. I do not know how to read any coding languages, but I learned a lot on the job. I actually find myself right now in a position where I'm considering going and trying to learn some more technical skills and maybe even learn a coding language or two based on what I want to do with my career. But I spent 4 years working at Epic and I really loved it. I ended up leaving Epic and going to another technical writing job. And I really enjoyed that too. It was within my field, but it was a completely different opportunity. I learned a lot of skills. And then in January, I got laid off. And I wasn't expecting that at all, especially because they had just promoted me 2 weeks prior. So I've been spending the last 6 weeks applying to jobs, doing a lot of networking, a lot of informational interviews, a lot of the things that you hear people talking about right now. Now is a great time to be doing that. Don't wait until you're laid off from a job. That being said, one of the things that I've been doing as a technical writer over the last 4 years was I got incredibly involved in a professional society. And that gave me a ton of connections, which actually led to some interviews. And I'm happy to say that this week I accepted an offer. And that offer came from, thank you so much. That offer came from a recruiter who headhunted me, who I had never talked to in my entire life. So none of it makes sense. A lot of it is luck. The most that you can do is try to follow what you think is the right move for you. And if you don't know what the right move is for you, my recommendation is just pick something that sounds like you might not hate it and give it a try. It's a lot like when you're a writer and you have the white page in front of you, the very, very scary white page. How do I even put any content on this? Where do I even begin? And usually, at least the advice that I give for the white page is just put something on it. It doesn't even have to be good. It doesn't even have to be full sentences. Just put something on it. And that will usually result in a cascade that leads you to what you really want your writing to look like for whatever the project is that you're working on. So as you can hopefully see from my story, mine is a very non-traditional, it's not even an arc. It's like a whoop, who even knows where this is going? And it still really worked out. I did things that taught me what I didn't want to do. I did things that taught me what I really want to do. And I'm still learning and I'm still figuring it out. And I graduated in 2012. So I've been around the block a couple times at this point, and I'm still just now going, oh my God, like my life just exploded in front of me. What do I even do? So if you're feeling like, I don't even know where I'm going with this, with my life, with this English degree, that is okay. You're going to figure it out. You're going to pick something. It's going to lead to something else. And what you are going through right now and the concerns that you have and the anxieties and the struggle, it's training yourself. You are going to be so strong as a result of how you're feeling right now. It is going to put you in a great position later. If you're not feeling like that, that is awesome. If you know exactly what you want to do, go get an informational interview with somebody who does that. I know that my fellow alumni have already mentioned this, but I am going to mention it again because I was literally just doing this the past 2 weeks. I was finding people who worked at different software companies who were writers at a level that I wanted to be at. And I was connecting with them and having these meetings and saying, I really want to get to these levels of technical skill that you have. how do I get there? And if you aren't sure how to conduct an informational interview, a couple of things you can do. Number one, you can go online and you can read about it. You can absolutely search on Google. Tons of great resources to tell you about how to do an informational interview. And number two, you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to talk to you about what it was like for me when I was doing informational interviews, how I conducted those, how I reached out to people. I'm a very extroverted person, but I know that a lot of us in the English department are more introverted, and I understand that it can be really scary and a little bit paralyzing to have to reach out to all these people or have to talk to people like that. But I promise that, at least in my case, I really felt empowered when I walked away from those. So, my last piece of advice, definitely, definitely do an internship. If you can't do an internship, volunteer somewhere. I volunteer for an animal rescue here in Chicago, and that is on my resume every single time that I submit it. It has nothing to do with technical writing, but you'd be surprised how many times people mention that animal rescue experience that's on my resume. And you can always spin those experiences into relevant experience for a job. So I foster dogs, right? What does that tell me? What does that teach me as a usable skill? Well, I have to communicate over email with the coordinators. I have to care for a living creature. I have to think critically about whether I need to handle a problem this way or handle a problem that way. I also sit on the associate board for this animal rescue, which means that I do some fundraising. Fundraising is an amazing way to get experience that you can put on your resume. Leah was talking about her experience with fundraising, lots of project management skills, lots of learning how to work with other people. And the last thing that I'll say about getting an internship is that it's not just about years of experience, because there are a lot of companies that say they want you to have experience, but how do you get experience if they won't hire you, et cetera, et cetera. And an internship does give you that. But one of the things that an internship also gives you is specifically experience with tools. And that, I think, is the even bigger step to get over to get hired somewhere. And it is a problem that I was running into in my job search this past month. People wanted me to have certain experiences with tools. And my 8 years of career never had me actually touch those tools. The companies that I worked for never used them. So now I'm trying to convince people that they should hire me, even though I don't have experience with that tool, because I can learn it really quickly. And a lot of companies right now, they really want people to just have experience with the tool already. So we're not going to go down the rabbit hole of whether there's merit in that, because I obviously disagree with all of those companies. However, think about it not just from the point of view of getting that work experience, but the tools that you're going to use. And that can be accessible tools like Microsoft Office. Sure, you know how to type things into a spreadsheet, but if you are doing cool spreadsheet things for your internship, that gives you a leg up over other people. So if you would like to talk to me more, I definitely don't want to keep talking because we also have another alumna to speak. But if you would love to like to connect with me and talk more, I would love to hear about your current situation and talk about the steps that you want to be taking and give you some support. I dropped all of my information in the chat. Please feel free to send me an email or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Wow, tons of great information. I mean, just some really good takeaways. I like how you mentioned volunteering. I don't think we've emphasized that enough tonight, that you can network and just gain some valuable skills and experience volunteering at different organizations, because typically volunteers get a ton of responsibility. They're often not paid, but you can jump into a lot of different shoes, low stakes, so those are just some great opportunities. The other good reminder for all of us is that we love to read and we love to write, and the thought of entering the tech world is pretty scary, but there's a ton of different opportunities in those types of fields as well. And we've had several alums end up in automotive, different engineering firms and things like that. And so those are things that we typically don't think we want to access or enter or explore, but our skills fit in those types of arenas as well. And I think Ashley just kind of reminded us of that tonight, that those are things that, don't push those away. They may be areas that you can find fulfillment. You know, if you like to write and you love language, you love grammar, those may be good, context for you to explore. All right, thank you. And I'm glad you found an opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, Deanna, let's hear from
Wonderful. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. Thank you for having me. I actually went to school with Ashley. So I graduated in 2016, I believe. So I have a little bit of I would say maybe unconventional story, so I can share kind of like where I am and how I got there. But it doesn't, to me, in my head, if I had sort of pathed it out, I wouldn't think that the soul arc sort of connects. But I was working while I was in school, so I actually had an internship at like a company that I heard about through a family friend. I had been sort of interested in a little bit of coding in my early years, just kind of as like a sort of side interest, and ended up in just like a kind of doing a lot of grunt work for some coding, basically. So that's where I started very, very early, in while I was also going to school. And through that, I ended up getting a connection to the marketing department, and they had a need for someone to kind of help over there. So I got pulled into the marketing department, and that's kind of where my whole career started. So my job morphed over time. It went from just kind of like basically a little bit of a marketing intern to now I am working at Apple, in marketing operations. So kind of what that looks like and how English was really good for me was it helped me understand how to kind of take all of this information and either kind of boil it down to its barest parts or kind of take these complex ideas and communicate them, kind of like what Ashley was saying, to other people who may not have the same type of experience. So how do I take like really complex like marketing processes through a lot of technical stuff, but try to explain it to somebody in a different department who like I need their buy-in, like I need their help, but they don't know all of the background that I have. They don't know all the ins and outs of all the clicks of all the software. So like, how do I take that information into a way that's going to give them like understand what's happening, ask them for what I need, kind of communicate all that stuff. So it's really like a lot about communication. Also about another thing that's been really helpful in my career is being able to step back and think critically about what people are asking me for. So you might have people in your job being like, we have to do blah, blah, blah. We have to do this thing. It's this big project and we have to do this. Being able to step back and say like, hey, hang on a second. Why are we doing this? What information are we wanting at the end of it? What does the outcome look like? And that's all stuff that I learned through like reading books in my classes, right? Like taking these, sometimes esoteric, sometimes really poetic, sometimes very strange, sometimes really dry texts and being like, where did they come from? Like what types of stories, like what's underneath all of this stuff? And sort of being able to open all of those up has really taught me how to think critically about the stuff I'm doing at work. So it might not look like it might not look like it perfectly translates to English, but that has absolutely equipped me with the skills to be able to navigate the corporate world, whether it's like communicating to other people, having really professional, well-written emails, building relationships, being able to translate very technical information into a way that other people can digest, that kind of thing. So the company I worked for, where I started in the marketing department, it kind of morphed from being just a little bit of a marketing intern to, by the time I left the company, there were about 50 people working in the marketing department. I started when there were like 4 or 5 people in it. So the company morphed and then my job morphed over time because I just sort of kind of scooted around with responsibilities. And then I moved to Austin, actually. So Natalie and I are basically neighbors. So hello to a fellow Austinite. And I ended up working for a furniture manufacturer. Now that doesn't sound very glamorous, but when you go to department stores and you look at like little picture frames, and there's like that little photo of like the cute couple in the picture frame, it was the company that did that. So they designed the frames and then also put the paper, like the photos into that, as well as like lots of furniture, lighting, that kind of thing. But they needed a marketing person. So they needed someone to be able to write newsletters, write website copy, work on their socials. So all that kind of stuff came right back to my communication skills with English as well, because I had to be able to kind of pitch things and write in a professional manner and sort of explain to the average web visitor kind of what the value propositions were. And then to Ashley's point, I really love what she said about learning the tools. So the first job that I mentioned where the marketing role kind of morphed over time, I learned a piece of software called Eloqua. The short version is it's kind of like a marketing platform. So you can run your emails, your contact database, a bunch of automation sort of stuff through like one piece of software. And in learning that just through my job, like it was just the tool I had to use. I ended up then getting a job later with Oracle a couple years ago, where I became a consultant for that tool because I've been using it for so long. I've been using it for like 10 years. So I was able to take that and kind of use that tool to then further my career because I was an expert in that particular tool. So, and then now I'm at Apple doing a sort of a similar job. I just started there back in October. It's in marketing operations. So it's a lot of technical stuff, a lot of how do I take what the marketers want to do and kind of make the whole system work around it. So it's a little bit of an unconventional path, but I agree with so much here. It's just kind of saying yes and also figuring out what's in front of you. And don't get discouraged if like your very first job out of college or your very next role doesn't look like the most perfect version of what you had in your head. It doesn't mean that you might not get there someday because you maybe will get there. You might find out along the way that actually you didn't want to do that at all. I briefly had like I kind of flirted with a business degree for a minute and I figured out very quickly I did not want to do that. So all of this experience is just going to help you figure out like what do you want to do, what do you like, and then you can kind of like adjust from there. So if you find out like, well, I really like this part of the job, but I like at Oracle, I found out like I don't really like consulting. I love teaching people, I love training people, but the actual like consulting part of it in terms of like all the administrative side was not my favorite. So I kind of scooted back into marketing proper. Um, so yeah, I would just say like tools are really valuable. Don't be afraid to kind of just like, yeah, don't be afraid of if the thing you start at doesn't magically look like what you hoped. Because you might get there. And I know a ton of people who graduated from college who don't have careers that necessarily match what they graduated in, but they still have amazing, fulfilling careers as they go. So it might look a little bit different. But that doesn't mean it won't be great. Doesn't mean you won't get to where you want to go eventually. The other thing is listening to all of you, I very much did not take advantage of the types of things on campus that I wish I would have. I would have loved to have done an internship through the school. There's a lot of things that I know, a lot of tools and resources available that I think I was like too shy to ask about, or like, it required me to go to some office in a different part of campus that I'd never been to. And I was worried about like, what am I going to say when I get there? And so I think I was just like too afraid to ask about that stuff. And so if you can hop over or kind of push through that fear a little bit to talk to people about, maybe doing informational interviews or going to the career, development center, which sounds amazing. I think I was there before that existed. Or even talking to your professors. I built some really amazing relationships with a couple of my professors who ended up writing me recommendation letters for jobs and other things I was interested in. And those can be really, really powerful. And they're there to be on your side. Like they want you to succeed and they're there to kind of use as a wealth of knowledge as well. I'll also echo the volunteering thing. If there's something specifically that you like I ended up in this spot of like kind of marketing and writing a little bit. There's lots of organizations that just would love to have somebody who would volunteer for that. So if you can find even like a couple hours a week, it doesn't have to be like a full-time unpaid job. It's just like if you can give a little bit of time, there's lots of ways you can apply that stuff that you're looking to do for people who really, really need it. And then you can use it on your resume. You can build connections that way. So I recommend that as well. If you have a passion, like a hobby or a cause you're really passionate about, if you reach out to organizations that do that, they probably need people to do writing or social media or marketing or communications, like something in there. And then you can just use that as experience for your resume. So I would just say, I would also echo the room of just using your time, your work experience, your internships, your schooling, your volunteer time as ways to just keep building your skills. So it sounds really overwhelming, like there's a lot going on and you've got a lot of a big life ahead of you, but I will echo, you're not alone. It's very normal to feel overwhelmed, to not know where you're going. But I believe in all of you and you've got a lot of amazing opportunities and people here who are excited to work with you to set you up for success. So don't be afraid to reach out. It's a little scary at first, but the first time you do it is going to be the most difficult. And then after that, it's going to be a little easier. So that's what I would say. I'll also drop my info in there. Happy to talk to any of you about career stuff, marketing, post school life, any of that. So happy to chat about any of it.
Okay, great advice. Thank you.
Mhm.
You know, if you can find that, you know, that energy and time to take that small step that we've all been kind of talking about tonight, just find one thing to do. Maybe reach out to the Life and Design Center, or reach out to the alums who came on to talk with you tonight and share their stories. And you did hear a lot of repetition, and it's just because you find out after you graduate that you twist and you turn and you move and you pivot and you figure out what you like to do and what you don't like to do, and you discover ways to use your skills that you didn't think possible. And the more open-minded you are about seeking those positions, talking with people, the more it will pay off in the long run. And you have a very nurturing community at OU. And I do think people don't realize that until they're gone. So hopefully you heard people emphasize that tonight, that, you know, you stop and look around. There's just tons of resources just on campus. All right, well, does anybody have any questions for our panel tonight?
If people are feeling a little bit shy about questions, one thing I would love to encourage any of you to do right now is just share, like, who are you? Where are you at in your undergraduate career right now? Right now you're all just gray boxes with names on my screen, but I would love to hear a little bit about, like, are you freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? Do you have an internship that you're planning to do, or one that you're interested in doing? Would just love to hear a little bit about, what's going on for all of you right now.
So I'm an adult coming back to school. I worked in massage therapy for over a decade. And so I'm always like the oldest person in my in my classes. Which I've actually learned to see that as a positive, which is awesome. But my question is, I actually am going to be doing a marketing internship this summer. So do you have any advice?
A marketing internship this summer, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, continue to echo what people have said here, but definitely take as much time as you can to kind of learn things. So learn a tool that they're using. If you admire the way that somebody does something, like I literally just did this the other day with a coworker where he had like the best way of saying something really diplomatically and structuring like things he was working on. I was like, how did you learn to do that? Like, I really love the way that you blah, blah, blah. How did you learn that? That's another way. Or if you see something you're interested in, but maybe you can't get on the project, or like it's kind of where you want to go, if you have somebody you can connect to say like, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee? I would love to hear more about Bled. Like, or how did you get into that spot? Because I would love to head there in my career. How did you get there? So just keep asking questions. And then just use the time to learn what they're offering you. So
Yeah, and I also think
be
it's
curious.
important. I think it's important for you to sit down really early in this internship and let them know that you want a lot of responsibility. You want to learn new skills. Like you want to really have takeaways from this experience, and a lot of that can come through that connection with your mentor. But you have to express it. If you don't kind of articulate what you want from the experience, then sometimes it can get lost in translation. I mean, I think you really need to have that conversation with your mentor. That's really important.
One
I
thing
Good
that
point.
I was just going to say, one thing to add on to that is I know that sometimes these internships can be a little bit like not glamorous, right? Like maybe it's very like grunt work, or it's like a lot of stuff you have to do and it's like not that exciting and it doesn't look like the dream job, or it doesn't feel like it's impacting anything. if you can get through that, but also, work on building the relationships with the people around you. Like I've gotten jobs through other coworkers before that I've had in a past life, or past bosses who have loved me and then written recommendations later. So I would say like it, just know that sometimes the unglamorous stuff is like a building block to something more exciting and more where you want to head in your career. So even if it's just kind of boring work, just build those relationships and ask questions, is what I would say.
When you start your internship, it's hopefully very likely that they'll have a pretty structured onboarding process for you. One thing that they should be doing is having you set up time to talk with certain people that they feel are important for you to talk with. That might be certain product manager or certain team member, and they want you to set up, 15 minutes. Even if they do that, you can still do this suggestion that I'm about to give you. But if they don't do that, ask your direct manager, who are the people that I should be talking to? Like, who would you say are the right people to, connect with so I can better understand how their team interacts with marketing? And you can ask that at the beginning, and you can always grab 15 minutes with people 3 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in. There is no time limit on when you're allowed to make a connection. You can always say, hey, Jeff, I am grabbing 15 minutes off of your calendar. Would love to talk with you more about XYZ project that you're working on. And then similar to what Professor Smidra was saying, if you see projects that you're interested in, see what you can do to get on those projects. In my previous role, I established an internship program, and I had 2 interns that I hired and worked with for 3 months. And one of my goals was getting their hands dirty, right? I wanted them to be doing actual technical writing things because it's the only way to learn. And one of those interns in particular, she ended up getting hired on as our second full-time writer. And then she started taking initiative, which companies love to see that. Most companies, good companies, like to see that you are taking initiative. You don't want to overload yourself, but you want to, fight for yourself because, other people will, there are good people in corporate America, but what they generally say is like, if you don't fight for yourself, no one will. So you want to take your education into your own hands. If you see something interesting, ask about it. And now is a great time to be doing those informational interviews with people at other, places who are marketing professionals. Ask them, what are your recommendations? How can I get the most out of this internship? And the last thing I'll say is you can really leverage the search functionality on LinkedIn. You can search for people who have a title of marketing, and we're alumni from Oakland. So you can really dive pretty deep and then reach out to those people, send a connection request, always add a note whenever it's available and say, hi, I'm a fellow Golden Grizzly. I have an internship this summer. I would love to learn more about how you got to where you're at. Would love to connect if you have time for a 30-minute informational interview.
I feel like Natalie had something to add to. I want to make sure we don't forget.
Yeah, I don't want to go on too long, but just echoing what everyone said, and especially what Professor Smidra was saying, like this is kind of the chance for you to, if they say, okay, these are your set tasks, but are you interested in this? Are you interested in this? Say yes to everything. If they say we've got this other project going on, would you like to be involved? Say yes. They probably see a lot of interns, and it's always helpful to have that on your resume. But if you want to make that connection, this is a great place where where you can fail and you can take those big risks in maybe going super overboard on the project and something that you think, oh well, this is 50-50, could be hit or miss. This is the time to do it because the consequences are just that you learn, and that's kind of it. You're not going to um, get fired, right? Just for taking those risks in the sense of where it's something that you're trying out and you're learning, and it I'm losing my train of thought here, but do y'all know what I mean? Like just it's okay to fail, and this is an internship is a really great place to do that and to take that risk, to make that impact, and have those people remember you.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think I would ever apply to a marketing internship, but here I am. So hopefully it goes well.
We've got our fingers crossed for you.
I think
Okay,
that's
I think that's the end of our event tonight. I wanted to thank everybody for participating. What an informative night. I mean, just tons of great information, reminders about resources on campus, and you know, you've got a network right here on screen tonight, so reach out to people. And all right, thanks for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.